Morning. It's still morning, isn't it, Pippa? It's still
Yes,
morning.
it is 11:19. Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you. We're here to talk about Sitting in Limbo, which airs on BBC One this weekend.
No, Monday. Monday the 8th.
Is it the 8th? Right, okay, cool. You play Eileen in the BBC, in the BBC One drama, Windrush Scandal, one-off drama based on the true story of Anthony Bryan and his battle to be accepted as a British citizen. There are so many areas that we can take this discussion. It's a deeply unsettling narrative, specifically for Black people who came to this country years ago and whose children, as in the case of Anthony Bryan, are still having to deal with this. But it might start like a silly place for me to start. Might sound like a silly place for me to start, but I really want to just drill down into your performance and just how, you got to grips with the role of playing Eileen. And particularly if you'd had any experiences or understanding of the Windrush scandal prior, which enabled you to deliver your performance.
I don't think that's silly at all. I think that's a really good place to start. I mean, my parents both came over to this country. Well, their parents came over in the 50s, and my parents came a little bit after that. My mum is Jamaican. My dad is from St. Kitts. And when I read the script, I could not get through it without crying because it was scarily close to home. My dad is Anthony Bryan's generation, so is my mum actually, and it could have easily been my mum, it could have been my dad, it could have been my uncle, it could have been your uncle. The fact that what was happening to people to my elders and their families was really distressing. And when we were on set, we were all like this, super, super close, everybody, the crew, the cast, everybody. And we all just wanted to make sure that we were honouring Anthony's story and Stephen's writing. And in terms of performance and in terms of getting to where, we wanted to be performance-wise, we were so lucky that we had this amazing script that was so close to what actually, to what happened. It is essentially what happened. So that's the great thing, because you're not reaching for stuff. The script is what you focus on, and it's the Bible. So you just, it's kind of difficult for me to say how I got to. It was just there because I was feeling it. It just felt. It was something that I could easily have easily could have happened to my family. So that it was one of those ones where you're just like winded every time you go to work, because you're like, this is what's happened. This is what happened to people. Yeah.
Do you wanna? I guess it'd be better coming from you, but talk about your role as Anthony's daughter. So one of the things that I was really heartened by is the fact that you don't, the narrative of the Black family, the mum and the dad with the kids and the grandkids and no criminal record in sight, and everyone's got a job, and this normalcy of conventional, a conventional family.
Yeah.
That it doesn't apply to us in many respects. So it was heartening to see that. So talk to me about how you got to grips with just playing Eileen's daughter, and not only that, just with the sensitivities that you just outlined with respect to the actual drama, which was Sitting in Limbo.
Well, I think the first scene I shot, definitely the first scene I shot, I don't think it was the first scene that was shot, was the opening scene at the at Anthony and Janet's house, and we had all the West Indian food and we had the music playing, and it was just, there was such a vibe on that day of because that's what my childhood was like. My childhood was having, West Indian, like it still is. I mean, it's still in my life now, of course. But I'm talking about, being around lots and lots of family. And I guess it was just, sorry, what was your question? Because I feel like I'm going off on a tangent.
I just wanted to know, in terms of you kind of getting to grips with the sensitivities and then relaying that in the role and helping to connect that. How was that experience? And talk about the dynamics between yourself as Eileen and Anthony. I get caught with referring to him as Patrick because obviously that's his real name, but I want to stay in character. So Eileen and Anthony, how was forming that dynamic?
Well, Patrick is just divine, so that was really easy because, and he was so brilliantly, so deep in his role that you couldn't. It was impossible not to feel a connection. It was impossible, and also because we all cared so much, and we care so much about what happened, and about telling the story in an honest and truthful and sensitive way. That it was just that thing of kind of going, that could have, the injustice, the how offensive this was to Black West Indians in this country, and just all knowing that we're all going for the same goal of going, we want this to be really good. We want to honor the people that had to go through what they went through, and give them, and bring awareness and make people aware of what happened. Because a lot of people don't know what happened. I mean, I didn't know the ins and outs of what had happened. So it was one of those jobs where it just happened, And we had rehearsals and stuff as well, actually. Stella, our brilliant director, we had rehearsals. I think it was about 2 weeks before we started shooting. So we were really comfortable. I knew Nadine from before anyway. And so it was nice to just, muck in together.
I'm playing the daughter. You're also a mother in your own right, which I've outlined earlier. But I wonder, Nadine Marshall's performance throughout, did you, because everything you're talking about, I got from watching it myself, there was definitely a closeness on set, which kind of, you could see it, it was expressed through your performance. But talk about Nadine Marshall. I thought she was absolutely outstanding in terms of just portraying that matriarchal figurehead, that support, that when we talk about strong Black women.
Yeah, it's her. She's amazing. She's an amazing woman. She's an amazing actor. And being on set with her, the days that I was on set with her, it's like watching a masterclass. You're like taking a masterclass. And she's so brilliant and subtle and never overplays anything. She makes me laugh. I mean, she's wonderful, a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful woman. I really, really adore her, and I think her performance as Janet is just stunning. I really do.
What was the most poignant scene for you that you took part in or witnessed? Or give me both, actually. The one that you took part in and maybe one that you watched that you was like particularly touched by.
I think that the scene where Anthony calls us and he's just got to the Verne, and that all of us were all in the room waiting for him to call because we don't know where he's gone. We don't know where they've taken him. And that phone call between him and Janet is really moving. And he doesn't want to really tell us where he is, what the conditions are like. And, we were all just really putting ourselves in those people's shoes because they didn't know where he was. It was, I think in that scene, you feel the injustice of it because his family are totally left in the dark. Because I think that the police officer says, as they're taking him out, I think Janet says, "Where are you taking him?" And he's like, "Well, we're not obliged to tell you," or whatever it is. And this is his family. And by this time, I think, they've driven all the way down to door. It's just that difficult. And then when I watched it, 2 scenes, when they arrest him and take him, which is just shocking, that he's not even dressed and they want him to get dressed and the door's open. And then also the bit where he has a sort of flashback of that and runs out into the street in the middle of the night, and then you see, God, how much one's mental health can be affected by stuff like this. I mean, it's so incredibly scarring. And it sometimes renders me speechless because the treatment that those people went through after being in this country for 50 years, after contributing, after paying taxes, after raising children. This is their home, and then to be treated like this, it's unforgivable and so deeply offensive. It makes me feel physically sick, genuinely.
Open the door right now.
Anthony Bryan, I'm arresting you on suspicion of being an illegal resident.
Talking about on behalf of the Home Office.
Claim to have lived in London since arrival.
What would be really helpful is if we could see
Your mother's original passport.
I lost my job.
Would you be willing to take a paternity test?
I lost my home.
A deportation order has been issued.
50 years I've been in this country. 50 years.
What do you think the wider public will glean from the narrative being told in this way?
Well, I really hope that people... The thing about it is, it's very exposing, and it exposes how the government treated people. And this treatment is, until this point, buried under a carpet. Nobody knows, nobody knew. So, and especially where we are now at the moment with this, what's been happening in America, what's happening today, still, Blackout Tuesday and everything. I just hope people, well, I know people that watch it will be able to, they're being exposed to, that the government is being exposed basically for their bad behavior. And I want people to see that and see what, we've been dealing with this whole time and how this government works. I mean, that's what I think. And I'm glad that, like you said, I'm glad that Brexit kind of didn't overshadow or sort of, this is not about Brexit. This is about how Black West Indian people were treated.
Pippa, you're come and wax lyrical for me. You've got a magic wand in your hand. You're in charge of prioritizing how we deal with this mess. How do you prioritize? Where do you go in first with regards to the Windrush scandal?
Well, the thing is, I just wish it had never happened in the first place. I mean, was Theresa May on acid when she thought that this was going to be an acceptable thing to do? I mean, because of course these people still haven't received any compensation. People lost their lives over this. They lost their jobs. They lost their homes. People were wrongly deported. I mean, there's so much mess still to be tidied up. I think compensation first and foremost. People need to be compensated. People need to have their healthcare back. It's homes. It's. I mean, we see this in the show, in the drama, that Janet and Anthony have to move in with their daughter because for the first time in 50 years they can't pay their rent or whatever it is. What would I do? I would, well, get rid of the Tories. That would be the first thing.
Do you blame them though? I mean, this issue seems to transcend political affiliation. It seems that everybody's had a hand in the mess.
Oh, I know. But I think if I was to be with the magic wand, they would be the first to go.
That would be the first to go. Right. Point taken. You touched on compensation. I'll probably make this my last point because for me that is still a bone of contention. It sticks in my throat a little bit to talk about it. But let me just go into one of the things that was highlighted in Sitting in Limbo. There's Home Office, and this is one of the end credits. The Home Office has revealed by February 2020, there were 1,108 applicants to the Windrush compensation scheme, of which only 36 had been granted any money. The Voice newspaper, we reported last week, May 28, that 60 people had received some compensation so far, with a total payout of £360,000. With one of those payouts actually was for £100,000. That's been confirmed or just over. So that kind of gives you an outline as to how many people have been paid. 1,725 people have made claims to date, and that was literally when we made inquiries last week. scandalous. I mean, the scandal seems to continue, as far as I'm concerned. What are your thoughts on how they could possibly expedite that situation?
They need to pay. They need to pay these people. They need to give people what they deserve. And
one of the gripes and recurring themes is that not enough people are coming forward to make applications for fear of being deported.
People need to come forward. It is well within their rights to get their money. They need to come forward and they need to get their money because they deserve it. I mean, they need to come forward.
I think it's the fear of
not to be afraid to come forward either. Just come forward and get the money that you're owed. You know,
I thought the drama captured the insensitive way that the process filters, through the genuine and disingenuous applications. It's almost as if the system has been created by AI for AI, with devoid of any kind of real, understanding that there's a human being snared in the middle of all of this. So.
Yeah, and they're so. And I'm thinking back to it and just thinking about all the sort of personal things. Asking Anthony to have a DNA test to prove that his children are his, and wanting his mother's, and of course the Home Office destroyed all of the landing cards from the Windrush generation in 2010. So, it leaves you flabbergasted and.
Well, as of 2020, I'm told Anthony has yet to receive any compensation. For those who are watching this interview, please do watch Sitting in Limbo on BBC One at 8:30 June 8, starring Pippa. And it'll be on iPlayer after that as well, straight afterwards, for those who can't make it, a date. The Windrush scandal is going to roll on and on and on. This for me was a great insight into, for a lot of people, this will be their first insight into what, the scandal actually encapsulates. So well done, all involved on that part. Anything else you want to add, Pippa?
Thank you for this chat. I've had such a nice time. And to anybody who's watching, please watch. It's a really, really important drama. And I think the more people that watch it, the better.